There's a new team on top in the East, and that team's on fire. We'll look into a crystal ball and see what the playoffs might bring. More ECHL alumni get the NHL call. And cutting hair for a good cause. That's all right now on ECHL Week. In the Eastern Conference, no team is playing better right now than the Cincinnati Cyclones. Not only have the Clones surged to the top of the standings, they're a point away from being the first Eastern team to wrap up a playoff spot. Another couple wins gives them the North Division crown for the first time since 2009. How does a 14-1-1 record sound since early February? That's the kind of roll Cincinnati's on, and this team's record is even better on the road than it is at the U.S. Bank Arena. Head coach Jared Scaldi is in his third year leading the Cyclones, who have won just one playoff game in the last 2 seasons. This year figures to be different. I recently asked him to assess the season so far.
We're excited about how the year's gone. I think getting off to that good start, going 7-0-2 obviously is something a lot of teams achieve to do, and I think we did a good job. I think we've had some moments where I like the direction we're going, and at times we have stumbled, and for different reasons. But I think overall we're happy where we're at. You want to obviously do well within your division, and those games become very heated. So it's always nice to get outside the division and see some other teams. And I know that as we continue on here, these games are just going to get bigger and bigger with our division. Well, these guys have been there before. A lot of guys in that room have won championships, and I said right from the beginning is anytime you have guys that have won in your locker room, it's to your advantage. You guys know how hard it is. It's difficult. It's difficult to get in the playoffs. It's difficult to play in the playoffs. And, when you have guys that have been there, it sure makes it a lot easier from my perspective. Guys understand it's a grind, and you got to do whatever it takes and play whatever role's asked of you and come up big. Yeah, we don't have a 100-point guy. We got solid offensive guys, and we need offense from everybody. And whether it's our back end from Kevin Royer getting a huge goal tonight, or TJ Fast and Carl Hudson scored the other night. So we're getting it from different people, and it's a good sign. It's a really good sign. We've gone through a lot of highs and lows this year, and we're not out of the woods yet here. We've still got a lot of hockey left, but like I said, when you have guys that have been in the playoffs and understand what it takes, and I think a lot of those guys, as the excitement started to build, as we get down the stretch here, there's light at the end of the tunnel. We're heading into March here, as players, you get excited. This is the fun time of year. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done in October and November and December, and you get through some tough travel in January, and then you start gearing up, and you start seeing you getting into the teens, and you realize that good things are around the corner.
It seems we mention South Carolina goaltender Ryan Zapolsky almost every time on ECHL Week. The reason is he seems to keep doing things worth mentioning. Now the numbers are really head-turning. He tied an ECHL all-time single-season record with his 8th shutout to help the Stingrays blank Greenville 3-0. That 8th shutout of the year ties him with J.P. Lamoureux of Alaska a few seasons ago for the most ever by one goalie in a season. He made 22 saves to lift South Carolina's home point streak to a season-high 12 games. Zapolsky's current goals against average of 1.62 puts him on track for a league record in that category. And the All-Star goalie's save percentage right now is at .942, which is within range of the all-time mark of .945 set by Louisiana's Frederic Cloutier 11 seasons ago. And in the bigger picture, the Stingrays, who've spent most of the season in 4th place in the South Division, are within 2 points of the top spot and the home ice advantage that comes with it in the first round of the playoffs. There are 2.5 weeks left in this drama. If and how many records Zapolsky will set, and if his Stingrays will complete their late season rise to a division title. Stay tuned. Although the ECHL trading deadline doesn't pack quite the punch for most fans as its counterpart at the NHL level, some of the player movement which took place on March 7th could make a big difference for both the stretch run of the regular season and the playoffs. 19 players and 16 teams were involved in this year's final intra-league swap of personnel. That includes 7 of the 9 Western Conference teams, 6 of which have already nailed down postseason berths. A couple of deals were completions of previously made exchanges. Most of the swaps, owing to the very fluid nature of player movement in the ECHL, were for future considerations. Also, the rights to players currently in the American Hockey League were moved in several instances. One additional note, teams have until 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, June 13th to complete all future considerations trades for this season. Coming up, a look at a hair-raising Eastern Conference matchup between the defending champs and a serious challenger. And we peer into the future about what we might see in the playoffs. ECHL Week continues. As we approach the midpoint of March, the hottest team in the Eastern Conference is the Cincinnati Cyclones. They're running away from their North Division competition and have ascended to the top spot in the conference. Florida is not quite as hot, but the Everblades are putting some space between themselves and the rest of the conference as they sit in the final playoff spot. So here are the Everblades, forced to use goaltender Jesse Deckert in his professional debut, trying to stop the Cyclones' 7-game winning streak. Taking us through the action, and there's plenty of it, is Nick Brunker on the Cyclones radio network.
Stripped away in the corner. Chance here from the corner. It's passed off of Pistilli towards Waugh. Waugh will get the return and then send it on the bad angle, and it's tipped in. I'm not sure if Matthew Waugh got the ricochet from Corey Trevino or not, but from behind the net, eerily similar to a goal scored on Sunday against Brian Foster. A shot from behind the goal line, ricochets off of Hauser and into the net. We have a whistle and a fight breaks out behind the play right in front of the Florida bench as McClellan coming together with Dane Malka as they angle out towards center ice. McClellan has Malka's head and then takes him to the ice as the two collide as they get tossed down, and the two relatively small combatants are going to get a rise from their respective sides. The Cyclones, a very late scoring team collectively this season. Burkholz has it, drop behind the net for Pellick. Pellick tries to center one, bad angle, comes into the middle, they score! It's Josh Burkholz right on the doorstep. Cyclones have evened the scoring here at 1-1. Chop from behind the net. It's behind for Hauser. He didn't see it, and it goes below the net, and they shoot and score. It's a shot that goes from behind the net again. It kicked out into the front. It was behind Hauser. He didn't see it, and then it got fed to the slot, and they bury one from just inside the hash marks, and the Everblades strike right back. Now, Couple more gloves are going to drop here as Pelech and Milan are going to come together. As the linesman immediately came to them, they let him separate after all for a moment and then come back together. So a fight that almost didn't happen now does, and Pelech has the body position he wants, and that's going to be the end of things for them. As the linesman now will separate, Milan is out as Pelech decks him a couple of times right in the face. Was up top for Ratchuk, back to Trevino. Trevino stepping in, passing bad angle wall right across the middle, and it hits off of Hauser. A nice save for him. Another rebound is dug for right underneath, and then pinned loose, trying to poke check it free. Another one goes into the air and somehow manages to cut across to Trevino, and again they are able to bury on a loose puck that seemingly was tied up under the sea of bodies underneath Hauser. And back in his own end, number 12 or 52, Olivier Desmalka, able to clear it up ice. Back into the Cincinnati end comes Gauthier, tries to send a bad angle shot in, and he does. It goes from the hash mark off of Hauser to the corner. Mbach taken down hard by Bogosian. That's going to be a penalty, and now another big collision as Burkholz decked, and we're going to have a gathering another time. Everybody going to get in the mix down there after Burkholz gets absolutely decked, and the captain Aubin taking Bogosian to the wall, and the two collide, and now Burkholz is going to take matters into his own hands. He gets tangled up with his counterpart and will get tumbled to the ice, and everything's starting to get out of hand here as Joe Sullivan going to call a whole bunch of penalties. Opportunity to get this game between two, and they do right off the draw. Mike Mbach like gangbusters to the net. So Burkholz right off the face-off brought it right across the middle, and without any defense in front of him, Mbach stashes his 13th of the year. Mbach now has points in 2 straight games. Reed, right point opportunity. Spins it to the hash mark, trying to get it back to the point, but instead backhands it to Pelech. Pelech spins it on net, a chance in front. Shot, McDonald is blocked again. Mbach gets it another time. They score! It's Mbach! 14th of the season comes in the middle after a mad scramble. The puck was loose, and Mbach right inside the circle. Reed will get to it. Cycle and shoot, but it's up into the air, and it doesn't reach the net. Played back again to the far point. The former Buckeye fires, save made, rebound, scores! Matthew Aubin! The Cyclone captain able to come up with a rebound right in front of the net. We'll see if the Cyclones can end it before then. Waugh fires it well wide of the net as it's cleared around to the right wing side for the Everblades, that is, and tangled up in skates. Into the middle, Henley shoots and fires. It goes into the net off of Pelech, and this game is over. Unbelievable. Mike Pelech came down and blocked a shot that redirected past Michael Hauser and into the net.
At this point of the season, it's fun to start thinking about the Kelly Cup playoffs and what might be on the horizon very soon. Of course, it's too early to tell for sure what teams are going to make it, but let's just suppose for a moment and see what the first round matchups would be in the playoffs if they started right now. Remember, all rounds this year, including the first one, are best-of-7 series. Starting in the East, Cincinnati is on top, and they're almost certain to have home ice advantage in the first round. Greenville, a team which has fallen to 4th in the South Division, would provide the opponent for the Cyclones at this point. The 2-7 matchup would pit Reading against Toledo. These teams haven't met since early in the season, so this could be quite an interesting encounter. The Royals, on top of the Atlantic Division, look like a solid bet for a first-round home ice advantage. South-leading Gwinnett and hot on their heels South Carolina are paired up with 3 weeks left in the regular season, but these two are so close, it would not be surprising if their battle to determine the South Division champ went right down to the final weekend. That's because Florida, currently paired up in the 4-5 bracket with Elmira, could move up to a division crown or down to a lower seed. With all these teams playing each other, it wouldn't at all surprise if it took until the final night of the season, just like last year, to hash it all out. The West has a much different look. The teams are much more spread out and more likely to stay close to where they are now. Alaska, just about set to become the first team to reach 100 points in a season since Idaho in 2010, figures to take on first-year San Francisco in the first round. Pacific champ Ontario looks quite likely to have an opening round date with Utah in their quest for playoff success. It would take either a very good or a very poor effort from the Grizzlies in the last 3 weeks to change that scenario. Right now, the 3-6 matchup would pit Idaho against Colorado, and the 4-5 pairing would be Stockton versus Las Vegas. But since the Eagles, Wranglers, and Thunder are separated by 7 points, these two series could wind up with just about any combination. It would surprise no one if it took until about 10 p.m. Pacific time on Saturday, March 30th, to get the final answer of what the start of the playoffs will look like this year. Straight ahead, 2 Western clubs face off in what might be a playoff preview. And some more ex-ECHL players make it to the show. Those stories and more still to come on ECHL Week.
From opening night until the Kelly Cup is raised, watch every game of the 2012-13 ECHL season exclusively on AmericaOneSports.com. Catch the action live or on demand. Games available on your PC, Mac, or mobile device. The biggest goals, hardest hits, and spectacular saves all season long can be found only at AmericaOneSports.com, the official broadband broadcaster to the ECHL.
Both Ontario and Stockton have already reserved their seats for the Kelly Cup playoffs party. But just because they know they'll be playing in the postseason, they're still jockeying for better seating. In the first half of the home-and-home, the Thunder needed a shootout to post a win in Southern California. The next night, the action moved north to the Stockton Arena. Here to fill us in with the details is Mike Benton on KWSX and the Stockton Thunder Broadcast Network.
The win last night, 33 saves against Ontario, was good in the shootout, 3 of 5. In front, Brody Sheehan, shot save, rebound again, they score. Chris Cloud, I believe, smacked that one out of midair at the right post, and Ontario gets on the board 1 minute and 10 seconds into the first period for a 1-0 lead. Kramer gets the back. Set one to Pender. Top left circle, takes a shot, save made. Rebound in front, they score! 2 players in front. Estrada was down low. Might have got that deflection. And Ontario a key goal with 1:09 left. Burt now left point down the boards. Chips it to Kramer, who's bumped by DeHart. Swung now high slot, shot by Register, missing wide. And the rebound picked up by Kramer. Work to Burt, left point, across Register, shooting, score! To the top corner, Matt Register, a bullet from the right point. Puck skitters out to Blocklear. Got ahead Matt Reber for a 3-on-2. Reber drops it, Blocklear shoots, he scores! Maxime Blocklear picks up his 6th goal of the season. A beauty off the rush, going Blocker's side. DeHart lead pass to Ambrose up the right wing. Brings it into the Ontario zone, drops it for Hayes, a shot save, Carosi, rebound in front, and just missing Hunt as he lost his edge. Here's Hunt behind the Ontario net. On the walkout for Davidson, shot, he scores! Brandon Davidson continues his torrid pace, and he gets his 6th goal in 9 ECHL games. Kramer right wing into the zone, shoots, he scores! Kyle Kramer silencing the crowd with 16:29 to go in the third period. That one hurts if you're the Thunder. And Kramer picks up his 26th goal of the year and his second of the game. Kramer worked on by Boutin, a feed to the point, but out of the reach of Register, and down it goes. Here comes Sean Weller, a breakaway, on goal to the backhand. Save made by Carosi, and a penalty coming up. It will be a penalty shot. Sean Weller, held from behind, earns a penalty shot with 12:56 to go in the third. Weller scored the shootout winner last night. Does he have more magic in him? He attacks down the right wing. Breaks on goal to the backhand, and a save made by Carosi. Weller, backhander, save, rebound taken by Weller, and back. Send it now, Davidson, high slot. DeHart, shoots, deflection, score! Weller. It down low, it bounces back. Davidson shot to flex on. Save made. Rebound is loose. Up for grabs. Ontario controls. Puck is cleared. Kramer shoots it down. Will this be icing? No, it will not. The game's going to end. DeHart behind his zone net. Sends it ahead. The clock is killed. The game is over.
Time for a quick check on the latest ECHL alumni to make it to the NHL. John Rowe, a 26-year-old right wing who played from 2008 through 2010 with the Ontario Reign, was a +1, had a shot and 3 hits in 14.5 minutes while playing for Florida in a 4-1 home win over Winnipeg. The 2006 fifth-round draft choice of Philadelphia, who hails from Texas, is a former Providence College star. Steve Alexi made his NHL debut with the Washington Capitals. The defenseman had an assist, was a +2, and recorded 2 shots in a 4-3 overtime win against Boston. His ECHL career included brief stops in Las Vegas and Toledo before he saw action in over 100 games through 3 seasons with Idaho. The 27-year-old from Michigan played his college hockey at Lake Superior State. And Victor Bartley, a former Utah defenseman, was former ECHL player number 505 to make the NHL. He appeared with the Nashville Predators in a 6-0 win over Edmonton. He played with Utah in the 2009-10 season. In his major league debut, the 25-year-old blocked a shot and was credited with a hit in about 19 minutes of ice time. We should also mention that San Francisco goaltender Thomas Heemskirk has gotten his first NHL call-up with the San Jose Sharks. Although it's not unheard of for players to go directly from the ECHL to the NHL, it doesn't happen every day. Heemskirk, who's filling in for the injured Thomas Greiss, is 13-18-2 with the Bulls this year. He played with Stockton last season. We're not done yet. Up next, the final installment of our interview with a legendary broadcaster. Plus, one team making a sacrifice for a very good cause. There's more to come on ECHL Week.
So many reasons to be a fan, so many ways to show it. Customize your own at shop.nhl.com.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Today we conclude our conversation with legendary Fort Wayne Komets announcer Bob Chase, the only broadcaster the team has had since it started play in 1953. Last year he was given the Lester Patrick Award for his contribution to hockey in the United States. This segment starts with Chase discussing some of the broadcasters Who inspired him? Any broadcaster, I mean, I've heard people talk about, put you in the same category with legendary sports broadcasters, like Vin Scully comes to mind with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's been doing it for almost as long as you have.
Well, in fact, a little bit longer, to the point where Vin is in the what do you call it, a Guinness Book of Records. And I'm still chasing him, you know, and I'm not going to catch him now, I don't believe, but I'm still trying. No, I have a great deal of respect for Vin Scully and what he's done. And my only claim to the record is I've done all mine in one city. He moved out of Brooklyn and had to go west.
Yeah. So I guess you own the record for one city, right?
For one city, yeah, no doubt about it. Of course, probably one of the greatest inspirations I had was Chris Schenkel. Chris grew up in our area. He spent most of his time around Fort Wayne, was involved in a lot of community efforts and sporting events. I got to know him pretty well, and he was a champion of mine locally. And I looked at him and his personality and his delivery and his honestness and humility, and I kept thinking, boy, if you can be anything like Chris, at least personality-wise, do it.
He was a real professional for many years, worked for ABC Sports. Back briefly to the Patrick Award that's given to someone who advances the sport of hockey. Do you, as the time has gone by and you've been doing this and broadcasting for the Comets, have you thought of yourself as someone who is espousing what a great game this is?
I have always done that, but I've not done it with a specific in mind of trying to target anything. I've always believed in the game. I've had fun doing it. I have championed the people who play the game, and I've done a lot of youth work in my lifetime, and I've been involved in several issues, one of them which bears my name, and that's the sled hockey. And we have sled hockey in Fort Wayne, and I have sort of helped that tournament move along, and now they've been recognized by Hockey USA, and they're involved in the regular playdown tournaments, and it's really something different to see kids with no limbs strap that little blade on their hind end and use those little hockey sticks and picks and scoot around that rink, and I mean, they are in ecstasy. The thing about it is they don't have enough kids that disabled, so normal people get into that and they strap themselves into the sled, and it's funny to see the dexterity these disabled kids have over the kids who are fully normal. I mean, this is the kids' arena with disabilities, and they shine, and it's so much fun. You can just see that this is their world, and it's so much fun to be a part of it.
That's terrific. Let me just ask you one more question, and I'll put you on the spot here. For all your years in hockey broadcasting and being with Fort Wayne Comets and doing all the stuff associated with hockey, give me one good story.
Oh my goodness.
You probably got a million, but give me one.
One good story. Wow, I've got to really think about that. Well, one of the stories I remember came out of Des Moines when the old Oak Leafs were in the IHL years ago. And we had a real tough kid by the name of Emil Gillis. And Bob Kelly was playing for Des Moines at the time. And Emil and Kelly locked up at center ice, and they're really throwing him. Nobody knew that Emil never wore underwear. And then those were the days when you had the braces on. And Kelly snapped his braces, and all of a sudden Emil's pants go down, and all he's got on is the jock strap, and the rest of him is clearly there. And after the game, I said to him, Emil, what were you thinking? He says, I just told Kelly, don't stop fighting now.
During the course of the season, all ECHL clubs do their parts to make their respective communities better places to live. Their activities vary from one city to another, but without exception, the teams and their staffs and players make positive differences in their areas. Sometimes these activities take place in public view, and we're happy to show one of them today.
Colby, what's up, dude?
Recently, the Las Vegas Wranglers collected almost $21,000 to donate to the St. Baldrick's Foundation in its battle to end childhood cancers. 9 Wranglers players, head coach Ryan Mougenel, and front office staff participated in the 6-week fundraising effort. To wrap it up, they took to the ice after the game on March 3rd to shave their heads in solidarity with kids who are fighting cancers. Wranglers forward Scott Pitt joined the effort the day of the game after fans raised $1,000 for him during that contest. Mouginel led the team with $1,080 in donations. Most of the fans who joined the Wranglers' St. Baldrick's team had their heads shaved during the intermissions, with top fundraisers joining the Wranglers on the ice for their haircuts after the game. The fan leaders each raised more than $1,250 on their own. This year was the team's 7th season partnering with St. Baldrick's. In 2013 alone, the California-based St. Baldrick's Foundation has been responsible for the shaving of more than 36,000 heads and the raising of more than $12.5 million. It's great to see ECHL teams making a difference. That puts a wrap on this show. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. And remember, make it a good week. Make it an ECHL week.